All right, I've got some pretty deep topics to talk about, some pretty on fire, friggin' all the things drop in topics to talk about that have there's been a lot of information drop in the past 72 hours, let's say, and I'm feeling called to really pick this apart with these pieces that I was shown with all this information about all this stuff that's starting to happen in the world, which has been happening for a long time. We're only just being shown it now, shall we say. I'm just going to turn this way a little bit because the wind is picking up. All right. Kind of looks like a green screen behind me, right? Who thinks this is a green screen? I'm talking about virtual reality and stuff today, so check it out. It kind of looks like a green screen. Apart from the wind, you wouldn't really know, would you? These days, let's friggin' talk about this really important topic. Yeah, I feel like I've got a bee in my bonnet about this as well. So I was just standing under the tree with all the bees. Actually, I was like, I need to be under the bees. I could full hear them buzzing, and but then, it was really dark under there with no light under the tree over there. So I was like, no, I definitely need light for this live stream for sure. So let me share this as always, and I shall jump into this really important, deep, big topic that is already affecting us all and is going to, it's the way of the future. So let's discuss this, right? Let's talk about this. Interesting the timing even, right? The timing of, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg releasing Metaverse, during one of the darkest portals of our year. It's kind of interesting, right? So hello for those who are joining us. And first of all, before I start, who has seen the footage or has heard of the stuff that has happened at the festival on the weekend with Travis Scott? It's really, really interesting to me because I'd heard the name flying around a little bit, didn't really know. And I woke up on Sunday morning frazzled. I woke up frazzled, yeah? I woke up frazzled. I was like, what's going on? And I checked my messages and I was like, oh, this would explain it. And what I saw in one of the conscious, the conscious awakening groups, that's where I saw it on Telegram. And the footage disturbed me. And I haven't seen official news reports, but apparently the news reports are saying that the surge in the crowd made that happen, made the people die, right? And when you actually see the footage, there is heaps of space around all the people and all the paramedics, and it's if there was a crowd surge, they would be underneath the people. You wouldn't even see, they would be trampled on. That is not what happened. Now, the thing that really disturbed me or shook me to my core, and it took some time for me to recover from it, I felt very imprinted from it. And the piece that I really want to discuss about it is all the different connections that have come to me over the past 24 to 72 hours that are just popping all this information in together. So I'll just speak to that with Travis Scott first, is that number one, the energy on the weekend was a very heavy energy. It was a very dark portal. There's a lot of people that went through a really tough time on the weekend. Energetically, it felt really dark. There's a lot of people that, birds are agreeing. It was a very dark portal. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguments, a lot of breakups, a lot of just heavy energy, people upset. I was depressed on the weekend. I saw a lot of people post about that as well. So it was a really harsh energy on the weekend, yeah? First of all. So Amanda said they're saying they all had heart attacks. Yeah, and so let's look at that as well, right? So if we look at, there's different reports flying around, heart attacks, crowd surge, And then they're also saying that someone was running around with a needle jabbing people. Like, like, come on, let's just have a look at the narrative here, shall we? Like, just for a moment. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and, you know, there's a lot of people that have had the jab, just so you know. Like, I'm all for people trusting their intuition, okay? I don't care whether you've had the jab or you haven't had the jab. I really don't care. All I care about is that it is the right decision for you, because what's most important to me is that you're trusting your intuition with every single choice that you make in your life, okay? Just so we're clear on that. But, you know, the Travis Scott thing, when I saw that footage, I was just like, you're, like, he was on a little stand and it's like a 360 crowd, I'm pretty sure. Almost. And I was like, when these people were falling down dead, and you could see it with the footage that I saw on this Conscious Awakening group, like he was standing there and you could hear, like it sounded, like that monotone sound. He was standing there staring at them with the monotone sound, with the lights, like it's MK Ultra stuff, just right there, right? Like, and the thing for me, I'm like, if he could have been looking the other direction or in the crowd. Like, instead, he was standing right. You can see it, right? And the sound of whatever part of the song it was just something else. It was something else, very, very heavy, right? 5G plus, yeah, that's it, right? So there's a lot of like connections there around, you know, for me, I was like, straight up, that's just a, what is it? A testing ground. It's a testing ground, okay? The 5G, the sound, the music, the lighting, the atmosphere, the people, right? The music is dark frequency. It's very dark, right? You know, like I said, you know, the Travis Scott, I was like, I'd heard that name, didn't really know. And anyway, so I saw those clips and then I was like, who is Travis Scott? And I was like, oh, okay. And I saw him on Instagram. I found him on Instagram and looked at his story, and his video clip released the day before, and I was like, okay, let's like have a click onto this, right? And I was like, you know, as always, I watch things to like see the tone, see the energy. I'm like intuitively, like I was thinking just the other day, I'm like, when I was in school, the only thing I really wanted to do was, you know, become a lawyer. And I was like, because I'm like seeing all different sides of the thing and I'm like investigating everything, right? Used to love those crime shows when I was a kid, whatever. Anyway, the point is that I'm always like intuitively feeling into everything, you know, like I can sense everything. And so when I watch it, you know, like when I watched the latest YouTube clip and I was like trying to hear the lyrics of the sound, like of this new song, right? And the lyrics were something along the lines of, we've missed the doorway, or he didn't say we've missed the boat. I think he said we've missed the doorway. So like it was something about, and I was like, you missed the portal, like you missed the doorway. So now you're trapped here. So now what are you doing to humanity? Like it was just really interesting that got released one day before this concert. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I get it on a big cosmic level. I'm like, yeah, you missed the portal for what? Like you missed it. So now what are you doing? Like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of really weird, right? I didn't see Kylie K's newest photo shoot, but someone else had said that, like what she was releasing at the same time as the concert, and I didn't get to see her story or anything like that. I missed that because I was definitely imprinted, right? And this is what I want to talk about, okay? These imprints, like everything we watch has a vibe, has an energy, and when we absorb it, and I was just talking about this with a client, it doesn't matter if you're sitting there listening to a podcast, watching a video, soon watching, you know, you're in the game, you're in the internet, in virtual reality, which we're going to talk about Metaverse connection in a moment. And this thing that I want to talk about is this imprinting, okay? When we hear a sound, we're like, oh, I love that sound. Or we're like, oh, what is that sound, right? We can feel it, okay? You have to remember that when we're hearing a sound or watching something, we're not just being imprinted by what we're seeing, it's a whole body experience, right? This sets off a chain of chemical reactions, it sets off our feelings, it changes the frequency, it changes the vibration, it changes the cells in our body for like whatever it is that we're watching or listening to, okay? Alina says, I couldn't even watch the video. It made me feel dizzy and like my soul was leaving my body. And this is the thing, right? This is like, I watched it and I was like, oh, and then afterwards I was like, wow, my body feels different. And I was like, right, I'm just going to like log out of this and go into nature and sit there and reset my frequency and consciously choose to reconnect and, you know, like pull myself back together. Now, can you imagine all those people at the concert, right? Now, I just watched something. I didn't end up watching the Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm jumping a bit, but let me put it all together. So when I watched the Mark Zuckerberg, when he released his thing the other week, I didn't actually watch it. I was just like, you know, had it on my to-do list, haven't done it. Someone shared with me a YouTube video today. I've already shared it in my Telegram group on, you know, Reality Awareness Telegram group, Reality Awareness support group on Telegram. So you can check it out in there. And it was this, you know, I'm not religious, but the guy who created this particular video obviously is religious and, you know, refers to the Bible a lot. Now, I'm not into that, but if you sort of just leave that information and take everything else that he's putting together is very well done. Now, the thing that intrigued me about that is that, you know, like in that video, and someone had put it in the comments as well, that Travis Scott, like this guy on this YouTube showed like Travis Scott, not about his recent festival on the weekend, like 72 hours ago, but talked about his virtual reality concert that he did, and 27 million people turned up. Now, my daughter is a gamer, okay? And the stuff that she shows me, I'm like, how is there, I don't know, 2 million people watching this live, like on some of the Twitch, you know, things that they do, and like game outs or whatever they're doing. I don't know the proper terminology, right? And like, it's blowing my mind, and I'm like, how is this working? You know what I mean? And so Travis Scott, can you hear the frog? Travis Scott had a virtual reality concert, I don't know how long ago. 27 million people turned up. Now, when I listened to his music the other day, I was just like watching this other video this morning because all this information is coming to me. And I'm like, wow, 27 million people are listening to that vibration. Now, something that I really want to, I guess, hammer home, bring your awareness here, is that over the weekend, and I think I shared this in a post or whatever I commented on or something like that, for me, sometimes this stuff really gets me down. Now, when I, you know, share that I'm depressed, I'm breaking down in tears, blah, 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 like I'm being real about this reality. Right now, we're moving through one of history's biggest times. Like, this is going down in the history books, right? Is there even going to be books anymore? Well, who fucking knows, okay? And at the end of the day, you know, like I realized on the weekend, I was depressed and upset and sad. Now, when I say this to people, they're like, I can heal you. And I'm like, man, I do a lot of work, but I'm also real about reality. And I also let myself feel the reality of reality, because this is how we stay connected to reality. And this is how we become aware of our reality. This is how we learn to trust our intuition. This is how we can sense what's real and what's not. And trusting your intuition is the key that how we are going to survive, revive, and thrive through this time and be able to support people to be able to do that. Now, as this guy on the YouTube this morning that it's in my Telegram group, you know, like shared, and you know, it's a thing. Like probably about, what are we now? Maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, I had to get my car tires fixed. I went down to my old neighborhood because I just know my old neighborhood, and I went for a big walk while my rims were getting fixed actually. And I was walking past one of the high schools that I always, you know, driven past, you know, when I used to live down there. Anyway, on the big billboard, there's like this robot, you know, it's advertising the school and all the like things. And there's this robot sitting in front of the kids in the classroom, obviously in the tech class, I imagine so. And I'm like, hang on. So I was like, had to walk back, and I put it on my story. If you guys saw it back then, it was on my story, right? And I was like, wow. And then so back to the YouTube video that I shared this morning in my Telegram group. This guy, he brought it to awareness again. He's like, our kids are already in training for this, like, you know, Roblox and, you know, Minecraft and all of that. And, you know, and personally, I fucking love technology. I love AI. If you guys know me, I've been obsessed with AI for a long time before it even became a thing. Like I would watch movies about it. Like I've been obsessed with AI. Now over the past 12 months, I've questioned why, because I'm like, oh, it's bad because other people had told me that's bad and whatever, and I just let other people get in my head. But I've been obsessed with AI. Now, I don't agree with everything they're doing. Fuck no, I really don't, right? I don't agree with it. But when I see people also like jump off social media and then jump back on social media and they're like, I'm leaving this platform because they're stealing my data. I'm like, dude, it's a bit late. It's a little bit late, right? It's just a little bit late, like 10 years or however long too late when you first signed up to it. I'm like, it's a bit late, right? The reality is everyone's like, they're tracking my data. And I'm like, dude, if somebody wanted to track you down, they could track you down, whether Facebook was alive and running or not. Like, we can either live in fear or we can be the warriors within the system. Because reality is we're already in the friggin' system. Okay, we are already in it. To run scared and try and like remove all your data, I'm like, it's too late. Okay, so if you want to do that, go for it. As I always say, trust your intuition, do not listen to me. But when you're going to sit there and fear about it and also not do anything about it, I'm like, right? As I've always said, we want to be on the inside to be able to shift the inside. Now, there's been so much information that's been coming to me about all of this stuff. The thing that I wanted to talk about, Travis Scott and that imprinting and the reality that our kids are like growing up and this is normal. Do you know what I mean? Like I see 5G towers go up. Why? Because I was going to say I'm almost 40. I'm 37. I'm just going to hold my 37 years of age, right? I'm 37 and I'm in an era where I'm seeing the change, right? I also watched another video this morning, which I won't talk about actually. So anyway, I'm seeing this change right in front of my eyes. So of course it's a little bit confronting, right? Because I also know the other side of it, yeah? I know the dark side of it, okay? However, when I'm like, hey, those 5G towers weren't here when we drove past before, and my daughter's like, Mum, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like she's 12 and I'm like, this is the reality that she's growing up in as normal, just like us growing up with mobile phones that are not bricks. And then we show it to our grandparents and they're like, oh, that wasn't around when I was here. And like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, this is reality. And it's like, how do we actually stay grounded in connected to reality? If you're just joining me, this looks like a green screen, right? It's real. You can hear the wind and whatever. Anyway, the point is that these things that humanity is getting imprinted in, yeah? Like the Travis Scott concert, like watching that video, I was super affected by it, right? And I watched like a 2-minute video of it, for goodness sake, okay? And this is the power of the imprint. No matter where you are in the world, no matter who you're talking with, like I said this morning, I was talking with a client. And it was like, it was kind of like, okay, the environment and is in a beautiful location similar to mine in a way. But he was like having conversations each week, each fortnight with these people. And I'm like, this is your environment. Okay. I don't care if you're living out on 250 acres, who you're speaking with on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on watching videos, listening to YouTube, whatever you're doing, right? This is your imprint, okay? So I'm not saying don't you can disappear from technology, okay? And when I spoke to someone this morning, they're like, I'm getting off all this is bad. And I'm like, okay, you can do that, but I'm like, it's a little bit late. And when I say that, what I mean is that there's a reason. There is a reason that you're also on it, okay? Because yeah, we might have been hooked in and deceived and all of this stuff. But the truth is that we are awake. We are awake in it. And yes, maybe your intuition is guiding you to disappear and get out of it and go and live on a farm and live in a cave away from humanity and do that and not be part of society. Like perhaps you're being guided to do that and you need to trust that. Okay? But the reality is that you as a purpose are already in the system. And, because I cancelled Netflix, I did all the things, right? And because I had to like sit in, I was like, but if I'm being deceived and they're, us watching all these shows are giving them permission, right? Which is a deception because they're manipulating, they're not telling us the truth, right? Out like in front of our face. I always said, if somebody, if they were to say, hey, we're injecting you with nanotechnology, which means we can control your neural receptors and control what happens where that technology goes in your brain. Like, if they outwardly said that to people, do you think there would still be lines of people lining up? No. So they had to do that, right? And I know you guys get that. I don't really need to go into that. The point that I'm sharing is that you're in the system for a reason, okay? We've been born into it, brought into it, and you hold a vibration that can rewrite imprints, okay? You hold a power that rewrites imprints. All this stuff that was going on and has been going on, it's only that we're becoming aware of it. You have to remember, because some people are like, oh my God, like, how is this happening? And it's like, well, the reality is it's actually been happening for many, many decades, if not centuries. Yeah? Was it 1950? That's when the television came in. You have to remember that the technology that we're seeing today has been around since then, if not before. Yeah? So when we look at what we're doing in this, we have to remember that we hold a power. The reason, okay, when I like broke down last August and was just like, I was like distraught. I'm like, trying to figure this out. I kept asking, but why? But why? But why are they siphoning? Why are they doing this? Why are they, why are they creating a parallel reality? Like, why, right? And if you guys want like big insight to what's going on, watch The 100. There's like 8 seasons, but it lays it all out right up to season 8. The whole like metaverse that's come out now and the virtual reality, that's in about end of season 7, season 8. And you literally see it, just in that show, they swallow a silicon pill. But do you know what's really interesting? Is the infinity symbol is actually the company symbol for the silicon thing. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of interesting because Facebook just changed to Meta with like the infinity symbol. Like, how interesting. Oh my goodness. Because they want power. Close. They're too scared to connect to source themselves. So yeah, power, right? But the reality is, right? The reality is the fact that if everything comes from an infinite source, right? If everything comes from an infinite source, apparently, who fucking knows, right? Who knows the truth? But we know that the truth is, well, I feel, right? When I was like, why are they doing this? Because the dark is scared to connect to source themselves. We openly go, angels, God, connect to our soul. We're like, this is normal, this is natural, this is like how it's supposed to be. This is like, why aren't you doing this? This is normal. Like, we have this connection to our soul, to source, to all these things. The dark is too scared to see itself in the light. So it has to parasite and suck and connect to source through something. Interesting, virtual reality, right? Through something to then feed. It's a parasite. It's parasitic. Yeah, it's parasitic. So if you really want to take back your power, parasite cleanse. Get your body healthy. Only eat fresh produce. Get clean. Get the viruses out of your body, right? Because we're going to reclaim our power that way. But the other piece is, know when you're being imprinted. Now that you're being imprinted like all the time. No matter if you're listening to something positive or something negative, you're being imprinted. You have to remember that. And the best, like on top of having a clean, healthy body, the other piece is being able to connect to your source and making that stronger. So whether you're listening to something positive or negative, you can feel the imprint. This is trust your intuition, right? So trust intuition, doors are open. Okay, you guys have heard me say that over and over again. The investment increases on the 1st of December. We start on the 22nd of the 2nd, 2022. I teach all of this in trust intuition. The real healers can look people like Travis Scott in the eye, in that imprint, and be able to almost reverberate that energy back and see them, right? Every time you see something bad in the world, every time you see sacrifices, every time you see something negative, every time you see something being killed, every time you see something, whatever it is, the way that we shift it back, the way that we do this, the way we stop the parasite is by, for example, Travis Scott, right? Travis Scott, I was looking at him and all day because I realized and could feel it imprinted me. I was like, oh my God, this is like, I can feel it. It was insane. So I came out here, nature, reset, etc. All day, I kept thinking of it. But all day, I was thinking of him. And inside him, inside every single human being on the planet, whether you think they're a reptile or a lizard or whatever you think they are, okay, every single person is alive because in there somewhere is a soul. If there wasn't, somewhere in that human body, they would not be functioning. Whether it's an AI soul or whether it is a human soul, it doesn't matter, because you have to remember when you focus on that soul, whether it's AI or human, okay, and it's like a visualization that we do. It's a visualization, it's a imagination, it's a thought, okay? You find the soul in their body. I don't know, has it disappeared because it's tiny, because everything has overtaken it? Okay, you find it. You just intuitively, yep, there it is. And you connect that back to source. What does source look like for you? Does it just expand out through their body? Is a beam going up to the sky? I don't know. What is it for you? Okay. And every time we see something like that or it affects us, we pull ourselves back together, we shift ourselves back, and then we see that person connecting back to source. So Kylie Jenner, Travis Scott, all the people that you're like, right, which it is. It's really confronting. It is really fucking confronting. And that's why it's okay to fall down on your knees, bawl your eyes out, and feel so powerless, right? Because this is bigger than us. And it's going to take something bigger than us to pull us back. In the meantime, we connect back to source. And we see them connecting to source. Because the more that we feel that source back into their body and expand that, the darkness cannot live there. The darkness does not like seeing itself. The darkness only sees the other to latch onto. So it is so important as we move into this virtual reality to strengthen your intuition, to trust your intuition, this is what I teach in Trust Intuition. Because moving forward in the future, you're going to need to know the difference between whether you're talking to a physical human or a physical AI robot. Because have you seen them? They look fucking human. Unless they've got a big digital bulge, motherboard sticking out of their neck. The AI robots are designed and look human. And then they start learning from us, and then they start thinking on their own like us. The reality is that we are moving into not only a digital world, but we're also moving into a world where robots will be walking around, I imagine they already are, just like humans. And you're going to need to have the strength and skills to decipher intuitively who is a human and who is a robot. Maybe that might be easy for you, but the reality is in the next 10 to 50 years, we're going to be living in a very different world. And trusting your intuition is going to be your key. It's going to be your connection to the reality that's real. Yeah, all these movies that are showing it, it's right in front of us. It's right in front of us. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to talk about for this moment in time? Because it's huge. Let me just bring up the title to make sure I covered everything. Astro Festival, Metaverse, the real demons. Yes, and so this is the thing, right? There's not many people that can stand in the face of a demon. Yeah? And the world is quickly discovering who the real healers are and who are not, who is ready to step up to face this level of darkness and who is not. Okay? It is all well and good to go, I can sit here and meditate and cut my cords and shoo the demon away and all that stuff. Like, I teach this stuff. This is important. This is your kindergarten training ground. You must learn how to do this. You must understand how to cut cords, and don't cut cords without integrating. You must understand how to remove a demon. You must understand what the difference is between a demon, an entity, a black poof. Like, you must understand what nanotech is because it's a form that they live in. You must understand how to remove this from somebody's body, aura, and life. Right? That is why I teach what I do. The integration and the initiation to becoming a real healer is that you can stand in front of somebody, you can be in the most violent place, and you can be removing the demons in front of you while that argument's going on, while that disagreement's going on, while that violent fight is going on. This is where the real work comes in, and moving into the future, this is where the real healers are stepping in. It's all well and good to be sitting around a fire and kumbayaing and drinking all the concoctions that, change out and alter our mind state. But that's only good for a period of time until the real world requires the real demons to be exercised, to be transformed right in front of either that AI robot or that human being in front of you in the physical world, not even in the virtual world, because it's here, connected to reality, connected to the earth, that this is where they've taken over, and this is where we reclaim that. This is the real transformation in action. The real healers are the ones that can face that when that person is looking in your eyes and that demon is speaking through that person. Travis Scott on the weekend is a prime freaking example. That level of darkness is where we need to sit in front of, only if you're trained, only if you're prepared, okay? Because demons jump. Okay, everybody knows that. You don't just clear a demon, right? Because they fucking jump onto somebody else in the vicinity if you're not careful. If you do not know what you are doing. This is why I train in trust and intuition. I'm very passionate about this because I've seen too many times. I've been doing this since 2005. That's a long time. I've seen too many times people come in and they clear stuff and it jumps onto somebody else and it comes back and people end up in hospital, like, for real. And we're walking into a world where we're going to have to really decipher who's been taken over and who is not. Because it's not just about this, it's in here, not just the psyche, it's in the cells. It's now floating around people's bodies. Now it's actually got a container in people's bodies. And it's that level that is what I teach in Trust Intuition, because this is what the world needs coming up. If you can look at something like Travis Scott and feel like shaken, like I did. And then I pulled myself together and I was like, this is it, Hannah. This is the real work. This is the real work, not sitting there kumbayaing and being all zen. The zen is the real world. The real world. Like, can you hold that? This is the yoga off the mat. Can you hold that when you see something, or do you have to swipe away? Now, I'm not saying you have to sit there and look at it and absorb it, but this is your training ground. Because I don't like to be negative, okay, but I like to be real, and what's coming up in the world, it's going to get hard for a couple of years. It is going to get harder. Yeah? And so really understanding this level of work, this is the shadow work, this is the darkness, and this is where the real transformation happens. This is where the AI takeover happens, because I believe that not even AI can overtake God's source, because that's what they're just trying to do. And when we have that level of connection that can hold that in the face of what's going on right now, like the example, like I said, Travis Scott, I was like, this is the real work. All Sunday was an initiation. I was like, this is it. I was like, pull yourself together, Hannah. I was like, this is what it is. This is what is happening. Real life sacrifices that are being covered up. Like if you look at all that art through that festival, like the Luna Park, like, you know, mouth that people walking in. I watched the story, you know, when I was like in all that on the Sunday morning, and I clicked on the Astro World Festival and I clicked on the story, and it only had 2 hours left. It was like posted 22 hours ago. And it was like walking into the gates of the festival, and literally like there was like digital art on the story that came up, and you could see a smoke portal. Like I screenshotted it. I'll see if it's in this phone. It should be. And I was just like, this is the fucking portal. There it is, right? And it was a very dark energy on the weekend. Now, I'm pretty sure coming up in the beginning of December, we have an eclipse. So we've stepped into this sort of eclipse portal cycle space, right? Let me see if I can find that. I swear I screenshotted it, but maybe I deleted it. Oh, I can't find it right this second. And when you're trying to find something, when you're looking for it, it doesn't happen. Hang on, I'm just going to see if I sent it. No, I can't find it. Whatever. It was a portal, a smoke portal. And I was like, that is like, you know, if we are looking carefully, we will see everything now. And everything is being hidden, covered up, all the things. Yeah? And the truth is like coming out more and more. And so they're ramping it up more and more. But the reality is it's been going on for a long time. It will continue to go on for a long time. Now, we can choose which reality we want to play in for sure, but there's also a time and a place where you will get rattled, and it's important to understand the imprint, understand the pushback, understand being able to hold that and shift that. Because this is where the real healers in the real world, connected to this reality with reality awareness, this is the key to staying connected to the truth, to our true history, if you may. That's a whole nother conversation in itself. As we walk into what's now moving into this virtual reality world, which our kids are being trained, just like we were trained to come to this level and this point, our kids in schools are being trained for this next round. The way we're going to stay connected is through trusting our intuition, teaching our kids this. How are we feeling after this? Because this is heavy. Yeah? All right. I know I wasn't really checking comments, but if you've got questions, ask away now. Let's have a bit of Q&A with this, because I know it's heavy. I know it's big. It's a lot to digest. It's confronting. A lot of people will turn away from it. It is so big. Yeah? It is so big. Yeah? It's really big. Yeah. So while I'm waiting for these questions to come in, if you just jumping on now, definitely watch this live stream because it is such an important message. It's such an important message about all the pieces of the puzzle that are coming together, and just, I've been showing so much since August last year, and then I get like showing in waves, and I'm just like, phew. So I've got some other things coming out. I've been getting this message to like create this thing, and I've been putting it off because I don't know. It was even more confronting. But I've been getting the message. I'm like, okay, I think it's nearly time for me to do that. Yeah. Yeah, you feel the shift. It's so heavy and dark. Yep. What else do I feel is coming? Okay, so about the shift being heavy and dark, like right now, it is definitely like it's Scorpio season. October, November, December, every year is a heavy, dark energy through these months. It is. And always remember that. Okay, so coming up next year, coming up the year after, October, November, December is Scorpio season. these months are heavy, they're dark, Halloween, like all the things, okay? So if you're also conscious of that every year, look for the cycles every year, look for the patterns every year, so you can prepare yourself, okay? Because these months are dark, they are heavy, so you want to be supporting yourself more during these times, okay? Get more support, like sleep more, do more exercise, like whatever it is, like prepare yourself for these times as well, okay? October, November, yeah, they are heavy months. A lot of people go through very dark portals of time during this time. Rita says, what really happened? My daughter wanted to go to concert, but you talked her out of it. Yeah, I'm so glad you did. So if you're just joining about what the Travis Scott concert, please watch the start of this live stream because, I spoke a lot about it. But when you say like what really happened, well, what I think happened, and some people think it's crazy, but if you really look at it, some people are saying that it's a satanic ritual. Some people are saying that if you look up MK Ultra, well, I don't know that Google would really show you the truth about that because Google shows you what it wants you to see. So MK Ultra, like it's a mind fuck, basically. It's a biological weapon, if you want to put it like that. It's a weapon, okay? And it's music, it's sound. If we look at the 5G and when people are injected with the stuff that's being injected into people on the planet right now, it's a nanotech. It's like a radio signal. I can't see them. There's towers behind that tree up on the horizon and there's one down there. And I'm pretty sure they just put one up on that hill not long ago because I drove up there and I'm like, I don't remember seeing that before. Kind of interesting because we've got to get the farmers 5G out of the country, whatever, don't get me started. So you have to remember there's a whole, for me that concert was a testing ground. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that was a testing ground. And what I mean by that is the nanotech that's being injected to people. Now, does everybody have that? Do we know? No. Does anybody have that? Do we know? No. Right? But when you look at them bypassing all the normal testings and blah, 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 like you guys know, right? If you'd like to know more, send me a message because that's a whole live stream in itself. So what some people are saying that they have a placebo, some people are saying that they have the real thing. Like we don't really know, okay? At the end of the day, it's definitely nanotech, okay? Now there's shows like, there's a particular show. Nanotechnology is that it's nano, like it fits inside your body and it's a programmable, radio signal, basically like a tiny little, device that, it melds into stuff. Like, if you've ever seen, some movies and they, stuff comes out of nowhere and then it's a rope, like that's nanotechnology, right? Like it's unfathomable to our brain because of the way we've been trained in school and all these years, right? You have to remember that they've programmed us not to know this stuff. So when we look at, what really happened, like I said, people have that in their body now, that and the 5G towers, the light and the sound frequency, the sound is so heavy. Like that was every sound holds a different frequency. Every sound holds a different vibration, right? Like for me personally, I can't listen to heavy metal music. It just doesn't do it for me. I like, trance, I like that high vibrational music or something. Like, I don't know even the hertz, technical numbers unless I'm looking at it on paper, right? It's like everything holds a different frequency. Now that like monotone, like there's a difference between heavy metal for me personally when I've been exploring all this. There's a difference between heavy metal music and then that real dark monotone like what I heard Travis Scott play on the weekend. Like that is really makes me feel sick, right? And if you really look at these reactions that our body has, and then if we look at the technology that's in people, right? And if you guys have had the, the needle and you're sort of freaking out about this, there are ways to detox it out of your body to an extent. There are ways to protect yourself. There are ways, work with your own DNA. Like I've got my 12-strand DNA activation. Like your mind and source overtakes anything in your body. I've always said that. You have to remember that, okay? We're not taught that, and we're taught that things can't be changed, but the reality is they can. Basically anything they tell you can't do, go, okay, I can do that, okay? Because that's the way they're trying to keep us here. So what really happened, I feel, was a combination of the nanotech, them turning up the 5G, the certain frequency of the sound and the lighting and the whole, like, you know, like when you listen, like if I felt sick watching a 2-second video or 2-minute video, you know, like imagine what it was right next to the speakers or something, like, do you know what I mean? And a lot of people are having those heart issues from the jab in itself, right? So I feel it was a combination of that. When you look at the, you know, I don't even know what the lyrics were, you know, but when I watched his other, you know, his video clip, like we missed the portal, we missed the doorway, so like they're kind of stuck here, so what are they doing? Like, I don't know, it's just, it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't feel right either, you know? It's just, yeah, I'm so glad that you stopped her from going, because like I said, in that group that I saw all this, someone said, brought up, and this is so interesting, right? This is so interesting. Someone brought up the Harvest Festival, and I was like, straight away, I was like, is that the one in November 2017? And she was like, yeah. And because that's in, I think it was in Texas, if I remember correctly. I'm in Australia. When that shooting happened at the Harvest Festival, that rocked me to my core. Like I was so, I would say, moved by that. Like it really affected me. And I was like, man, I'm on the other side of the world. Why has this affected me so much? Like, I couldn't figure it out. And she said even the name of it, Harvest Festival. And I was like, right. You know, it's like that, you know, like that was one of those. And I was like, well, that makes total sense, right? So if you're going to go to a music festival or something, I love music festivals. Like I freaking, you know, I love them. Like if anybody knows me, I love them, right? But it has to be, the music has to be right for me to go, right? I used to take a lot of drugs back in the day, but, you know, like these days the music has to be right for me to go. And now I'm more conscious of looking at even the symbolism through the festivals and through, you know, it's everywhere in plain sight, right? So it's good. Like trust your intuition where you're being called to go and not, right? Okay. So just checking these comments. So if you guys got questions about what I, you know, have shared on this live stream, yeah, I didn't think of that connection. Yes. They even called it Astro World, making people astro travel and take over bodies. Exactly, right? And it's the astro, like all of that. Yeah, big time. He was watching dead child bodies being lifting out of the audience and saying the words dead. It was dead. Yeah, see, like, do you know what I mean? Very disturbing. It, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, apparently people were screaming at them to stop the music and stop it and everything. And it's just like for somebody to have that consciousness of what was going on and not feel something, you have to ask why. You have to ask why. You know what I mean? Like, is it just a given that people die at festivals? That many all at once in the front fucking rows? Like, I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. Same thing happened on his concert in 2017, but less people got injured. Yes, it's interesting, right? Just walked past a huge one, never seen one before. Is that the towers, do you mean? So Lenora says, my dreams have been so deep, been in between both realms and trying to figure out the messages. Thank you for bringing up dreams. Dreams have not been dreams lately, okay? If you've been waking up from a dream and you're like, this is not a dream, I want you to really pay attention to that. I really want you to trust that. Okay, as we're moving consciousness, as we're shifting, as the world is shifting, I want to say dreams are shifting. Spirituality is shifting. The way things work and move in the astral realms, in the other realms, in multidimensional realms, is shifting. Yeah, our dream state is shifting. And, you know, like, whatever's happening in the dream, like really pay attention to it, like in both realms, right? It's like this stuff is real, right? Just because we go to sleep, our soul doesn't, okay? And you know, in all these, you know, as I was just sharing on my live stream on the weekly update yesterday, energetic update, I was like talking about time travel. It's interesting. I started talking about time travel as soon as I started the live stream. And if we look at the time travel, you know, and I said, I'm like, we're already in it. We are already in it, because it's what, lunchtime here in Australia, it's nighttime on the other side of the world. Like, we're already in different time zones. And when we get in a plane, a train or an automobile or a boat, we're technically time traveling, but we don't think of it like that, but we technically are. because when we fly to America, we're going back in time. Like, it's kind of interesting concept when we really think about it. Yeah. So yeah, dreams are different at the moment. And I would say lots of spirituality is different at the moment as well. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Get really dark dreams. Yeah. I've been noticing the towers so much lately too. Yeah. So the thing with the towers and stuff, you know, like as medical medium says, you know, the biggest form of protection that we're going to have is a clean body. And I always say the biggest form of protection is us being connected to our bodies, being grounded in our body. And if we're holding trauma in our body, we won't be grounded in our body, right? So this is why doing the work inside, outside, you know, like this personal development work is so important moving forward in these times, to be able to trust your intuition and hold that level of darkness that we've been talking on this live stream, is literally like not being triggered, right? We're always going to be triggered. But when we are removing trauma, we become more conscious. We do. It's a reality. We're not carrying that trauma and it's not clouding us. Okay. So the more that we can do that work, and again, this is what we do in Trust Intuition, is we remove the trauma, we transform the trauma, and we understand how to do that real time, fast time, and then the deep stuff that really requires the really deep stuff. Yeah. So, you know, the best form of protection is just being conscious of it, being conscious of what you put in your body, being conscious of what you know, how much time you're spending in 5G around devices. Are you sleeping with them, you know, on, you know, like there's so many things you can do to really protect yourself on a daily moment by moment basis. It's like ever important as we move forward. It should be like your normal reality to be aware of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, can't even watch bad movies. Exactly right. Yeah. The stuff in the jab, the music is low frequency and 5G. I feel the same with metal. Can't stand the mumble raps. Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Like if you really hear the lyrics of, you know, or Google the lyrics if you're curious, like, and it's on your mind, like Google it, because it's your intuition giving you more information, yeah, about everything that's going on and things that you might be even receiving, yeah. Kids couldn't breathe at the concert, so interesting. Yeah. It's full on, hiding in plain sight, exactly. It's been much more intensified. I woke to entities rushing towards me. Yeah, and this is where we need to be like so conscious of who we're listening to, what we're surrounding ourselves with. Our normal, as I said, our normal everyday practices should be, this is your normal reality of all the things that, you know, I always harp on about taking care of yourself. This must become your normal reality, because moving into, like I said, what we're moving into, the reality is, like, sure, there's going to be parallel worlds like living alongside each other for sure. There's major communities, there's major wake up happening on the planet. But for now, it's going to be side by side for quite some time. And it's like we need to have those practices because there's always going to be that there, right? Yeah. Yeah, more dreams. Yes. How can one really time travel? It's interesting because the ear chakra consciousness, we were talking all about that. So if you want like all the advanced, like, you know, advanced trainings that I teach, that's in Rapid Ascension Awakening, which we're about to start the throat chakra consciousness. That is, and I'm holding those live trainings in my Inner Circle in Transcendence Reality Society. You get access to all the live trainings. You get access to the trainings that are already in there as well. Because the whole time travel is like really, I want to say, opened in the ear chakra consciousness, and moving through the rest of the chakras as we go through. Like, yeah, that's a can of worms, but we really dove into it so deeply in there, right? There's even a movie, well, I guess it's a movie on Netflix that I just watched as well, called Jumper, and it's literally about this teenager who realized he could teleport, and so he did it and left his, you know, abusive father or whatever, and then like he's, you know, for the next 10 years he's just like teleporting all around the world and living the life. And then eventually these men in black type people came and tracked him down and tried to kill him and stuff, because he shouldn't have these powers like God. That's what they're saying in the thing, and I'm like, these are our natural abilities. You know, they've just been suppressed so much, right? Yeah. Yes, lots of dark entities around. Yeah, so if you have to remember that if you're being attacked or feeling a lot of dark entities or a lot of dark entities in your dreams, again, this comes back to your daily practices in your day-to-day life. It comes back to who you're hanging around. You have to remember that entities will only hang around you if you are not listening to your intuition about making healthy changes in your life. Plain and simple. Yeah? There's entities like, like sucking the sacrifices and whatever's going on. Who really knows at the end of the day? We can see and know a lot, but at the end of the day, who really knows? So this is why I'm like, trust your intuition over anything I say, okay? For example, like the stuff going on with Travis Scott, etc., and in that whole world is a whole different realm to an entity coming to you and being attached to you personally, because that is you going off path. Now, whilst they have direct correlation, at the same time, I want to say you can't be the healer. You can't quote unquote change the world. You can't do the stuff to an extent, right? If you're like, it's almost like, how can you face the darkest demons if you're not facing your own darkest demons? And when we face our own darkest demons, that gives them less power, because these darkest demons are just babies of those, for example. Yeah. So whether they're turning up in your dreams or anything else, look to your own life first. Yeah. He was encouraging a lot of it, breaking barriers, did it in 2015, felt a huge disconnect between him. Yeah, it's full on, right? Oh my God, it's so full on. I'm in Texas, wonder why it's even coming up around the world. What is the real focus? Yeah, well, you have to ask that, right? What is the real agenda? What is the real agenda? To keep people asleep. And that is why it's so important that we stay awake and do the practices that keep us awake, yeah? The more we wake, the more others do. All of this is making so much sense. I haven't had anyone else talk about this. Yeah, yep. You can always count on me for the real stuff. Yes. Do you feel another government tactic is coming to keep these vibrations low? Oh, always. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. And this is why it's so important that you take care of you and yours and do everything in your power. And this is where I say, and so I posted the other day, I'm like, I've really been like focusing on my own life blocking everything out because I've needed to. And I think we need to. And I think for like most of the time, we need to. Because if we're focusing on this stuff too much, that's the portal in. Remember, whatever we're watching, whatever we're absorbing is the imprint. It's the imprint. And it's like a doorway. It's a portal. These are portals. That's why they've given them to us. They're portals. Yeah? So it's an imprint. I think we need to know what's going on, but then we need to block everything out and create our own imprint in our own world and bring as much light, love and joy and happiness into this world, because like I said at the start, this makes us stronger to be able to deal with this. Not be sucked in, but we can hold it like that, yeah? So important. They will only win if we let them. They will only win if we give up. Warriors do not give up. Warriors fight to the death. And if that's what it takes, I'm in. Yeah? Yeah. Self-reflection is happening. Dream journaling. Yes. Okay, awesome. I hope this has helped you guys. If you've got any questions, comment below. If you're watching the replay, the link for Trust Your Intuition is on the title of this live stream. You'll see me posted on my page or on my website, realityawareness.com as well. And if you need support, my Reality Awareness Facebook support group is there. If you want to talk other world topics, the Telegram support group is where we can discuss things more openly in a way. So thank you for joining and listening. I had to get this off my chest. So remember, keep your vibration strong. Do you block out the world for periods of time, long periods of time if you need to, right? Because you're always going to know what's going on. You will. And this is where your strength is. This is where your protection is. Yeah? I love you guys. Keeping it real as always.